Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar, Creating a Culture of Innovation. Don't just survive, thrive. I'm here with the wonderful Erika Flora, who put together this, you'll be shocked, innovative presentation for you today. It's going to be super fun and we're incredibly excited. So Erika, tell us a little bit about Beyond 20, what we do, why we do it, and a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So welcome for anybody who has not attended a Beyond 20 webinar before. I just wanted to tell a quick story and uh, weave that into what we're going to be doing today. So the name Beyond 20 actually comes from a Gartner research study where they looked at when mission critical systems and organizations fail, what that root cause was. And what they found was kind of interesting. They found that actually only 20% of the time when they really dug into what root cause, what the root cause of the failure was, 20% of the time they were able to trace it back to failure in hardware, software, natural disasters, things like that. But that actually 80% of the time when massive stuff goes wrong in our organizations and critical services go down, they were able to trace it back to failure in people and failure in process. And so that's what gets us up in the morning, is fixing the people and the process stuff in organizations so that the tool stuff works a lot better. And in fact, our leadership team sat down last year to really talk about in depth what gets us up in the morning, and we defined our mission. Thankfully, we had Lindsay in the room as our head of marketing, and we defined that as we want to change work life. That's really what drives us, and really fills me and everybody else in the Beyond 20 organization with passion every day, is to help our organizations change the work that they do. And part of that comes to innovation. And that's why I'm so excited about today's session. So this is me, hello. I am one of the co-founders. I'm also the CEO of Beyond 20. A little bit about my background. I actually am a microbiologist, that's not a word, a microbiologist turned project manager turned entrepreneur, with just passion for changing how organizations work. A couple of years ago, I was approached by the Axelos folks out of the UK to help co-author and serve as lead editor for one of the ITIL 4 books. If anyone here on this call is familiar with ITIL and that library, if anyone's not familiar with that, it's basically the largest collection of lessons learned that's ever been done in the tech industry. And I was so fortunate to be involved in what I think is one of the coolest publications that ITIL has put out around digital and IT strategy. And we actually, there's a class that goes along with it, a 3-day class and an exam. I'll go ahead and put a plug in for that. I'm actually teaching our class in May. I believe it's the first week of May. And in that publication, we talk a lot about innovation. There's a whole chapter around innovation, how to do it, how to lead teams, how to think about your process for innovation, because a lot of times organizations say, yeah, the key to the long-term survival of our organization is innovation. And then when you dig a little deeper and you're like, okay, well, what's your process for taking great ideas and bringing them to market? They're like, no idea. So that chapter in the book actually talks quite a bit about that, all different tools and techniques for innovation. So I highly encourage you, if you're wanting to learn more about innovation, we are just going to scratch the surface today. And we are trying, like Lindsay said, a couple of new tools that we've never even tried. So we're going to see how it goes for today. You guys will be our guinea pigs. Hopefully all will go well. And if it doesn't go well, then we're going to fail and we're going to learn, and it's going to be awesome. So yeah, so what else? I'm an entrepreneur, like I said before. I also am an occasional improv performer. About 4 years ago, I decided to take my first comedy improv class, and I thought it would help me in how I facilitate sessions and teach and things like that. And it has just been such a cool experience. It's helped me be a better leader, helped me think on my feet, and really have an innovation brain. So we'll talk about that. We might even do an improv game at the end. We'll see how folks are feeling. All right, so without further ado, we are going to try out a tool that we have never tried out before. So we're going to see how it goes. There is a product called Mentimeter. You can see it in the top right-hand side that hopefully will help us build a word cloud. So Lindsay's going to put the link into the chat window, and you can actually put your answers and you can vote here within the slide, and hopefully those words will start showing up. If you're having trouble with that in any way, go ahead and put it into the chat window, and Lindsay, maybe if you can on the back end, put those into Mentimeter, and we can start to build a word cloud. So I want us just to do a little bit of thinking about survival mode. We're going to talk a bit about survival mode, what that means, how that's different from innovation mode. So if you would take a few minutes and put some words. Oh, it's working. Oh, cheer. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting, you guys. I can't even I can't
I
even
can't
tell
believe
you.
I'm here for this.
This is a special moment, Lindsay, that you are
Oh my God.
witnessing. What? I've seen it done before. I've just never done it myself. So I am just
Amazing.
beyond excited. If nothing else happens today, that's good. My day is full. My heart is full. And, you know, if you need inspiration for words, just think about any time within the year 2020, any time that you've had to work from home or deal with kids or pets or, you know, 1 million Zoom calls. Probably not going to have any hard time coming up with words around survival mode, because a lot of us were, whether we liked it or not, we were pushed into survival mode. All right, cool. So the biggest word I see right in the middle, the most common word, is stress. Absolutely, it brings so much stress. It brings panic. I'm just going to randomly call out some of these words because the order of where they're located is constantly changing. Fight or flight. Yes, when we're in survival mode, we go into fight or flight. And fight or flight is a good thing because it causes us to either fight the proverbial bear that we're facing or get the heck out of there. And in the short term, survival mode is fantastic. It helps us live to see another day. When we think about this from an organizational perspective, it causes us to really focus on what's important. You know, prior to the pandemic, I saw a lot of our clients where there was a huge laundry list of the stuff that we wanted to do, an infinite list of projects. And when the pandemic happened and we're like, oh crap, we need to survive this year, a lot of unessential things were cut. So it does help us in the short term. Unfortunately, it doesn't help us in the long term. But yeah, it can be constant. There's pressure. It feels like we're drowning. There's a rush of adrenaline. Again, over the long term, what it does is it saps our joy. It saps our creativity. When we're in survival mode, we can't think analytically. We can't think creatively, and it's those skills of being able to think analytically and think creatively that helps pull us out of survival mode and into this innovation mode. And at the same time, we're like, we just can't even go there. Frustration, it lasts. It's fear. It feels like we're swimming and drowning. Yeah, one analogy I really like to use to explain 2020 for folks, at least for our organization. Not only were we going through the pandemic, but we were also going through a big organizational shift and transformation. We decided to go down that path right before the pandemic hit. So we were just, we really had piled it on ourselves. And it felt like we were walking up an escalator that was going down. We'd make progress and we're like, oh my God, I swore I made progress yesterday. And it still is just so exhausting. And I like the word here too, fatigue. Yeah, we're dealing with the status quo. We can't think beyond status quo. We're making sacrifices. There's chaos. There's depression. Absolutely. If you felt at all depressed last year, you are in good company because we all did. So let's not just sit here in survival mode. Let's talk about the next step. So, well, that is a copy and paste fail, and I will take a failure bow right now. My next slide should say innovation mode. So even though it says survival mode on your slide, I want you to put some more thoughts into the chat window around innovation mode. So when you think of innovation mode, what words come to mind? What does that feel like? If you would, let's try this out. Hopefully slide 2 will still work with the same voting link, go ahead and put some words there as well. I love this. Okay, so I'm just going to start reading these words, and so much creativity. Absolutely. I love that creative is the biggest word here. Creative, improvement, creativity, risk, desperation. That might be a leftover word from before, but maybe not. A lot of times when we're in innovation mode, there's a saying, and I'm totally going to butcher it, that innovation is the product of need, and it might be desperation, and we'll talk about what that looks like. Sometimes desperation, constraints, being put in survival mode really does cause us to come up with new and interesting ideas. Thinking outside of the box, fresh ideas, fun, absolutely. Innovative organizations, innovative team, innovative people are just more fun to be around. They're future looking, there's new ideas, there's collaboration, there's brainstorming. Oh my gosh, I love this. I also see fatigue. There might be a little bit of that too. It's fast. Yeah, we tend to move more fast, more quickly. There's engagement. There is risk. Absolutely. When we innovate, we are taking on risk. When we experiment, we are taking on risk. When we try something new, we could potentially fail, and we will fail. I like to use the analogy of riding a bike. Nobody that I've ever met has ever gotten on a bike and just rode it beautifully off into the sunset. No, we fall down, we scrape our knees, we cry, we get back up, and we do it again, and we fall down again. And yet I see a lot of our clients, they're oftentimes surprised when there's failure after failure after failure, when they're doing something new and they're innovating. But that is part of the journey. Absolutely, that is part of the journey. And it's something that we have to embrace, not just accept, but embrace as an organization, and realize that we will fail. Absolutely, we will fall off the bike, and that's part of the journey. I love it. Okay, cool. So we're going to move into a couple of new habits to try. If you are not already trying them, or if you are doing a little bit of these, I would say do more of them, because they will change your mindset. They will change your attitude. And innovation at the end of the day starts with us, and how we show up to an organization, how we help our teams, how we facilitate innovation, how we create an environment that brings true innovation to our organization. It starts with us. So we're going to talk about some habits, and then we're going to do some activities. Hopefully, for some of you, this will also be new tools for you that you will try and bring back to your organization. But I want you to be thinking and writing down, ways that you can implement this in your own organization. They are very simple habits, but I think they are really effective. And I see in our own clients that a lot of times we struggle moving out of things like moving out of survival and moving into innovation. And it's because we've gotten away from the basics. So some of these will feel very basic, but at the same time, they're so effective, and very small changes can add up to big changes and make help us make real progress. So the first habit I want us to be thinking about is to celebrate success. And I thought that this was such a great quote from Orient Hindawi. I'm sure I'm butchering his name, but I thought this was fantastic. He says, once you learn that you can move all of your users to work from home in days rather than years, you start thinking about what else you thought was hard to do. Right? Like we did amazing things in the pandemic, whether we realize it or not. It might not have been pretty. It was probably very difficult. It probably stressed us all out, but we did some really cool things that we probably talked a lot about prior to the pandemic. And out of necessity, we made it happen. So things that I would encourage you to do, if you are not doing this already, is to stop, to think about those things. Even if it's get out a journal and write those things down. Here's the amazing things that we accomplished, that I accomplished, my team accomplished, my organization accomplished. Even better, if you take it one step further and sit down with your teams and talk through those things. What are those things that we did that were great? And let's celebrate those things. Even if it's a wow, we really failed in this one spectacular way, but we at least tried. So find things to celebrate. Write down, I would say, at least 2 or 3 things that you can celebrate right now, even if they happened, several months ago. Find some time to celebrate them. tell your teams, give them kudos, and also talk about what you learned. It's not only the organizations that fail a lot, but it's the ones that take those failures and learn from them. So talk about those learnings, make it part of the conversation, make it part of the regular conversation. I'll give you an example. So one of the things that we did in 2020 that kind of just happened out of necessity was we started doing weekly all hands meetings, and we started getting everybody in all parts of the organization and just started giving them a state of, here's what's going on, and answered a lot of the questions. A lot of people were scared. We were all scared. What was going to happen to the organization? Were there going to be furloughs? Were we going to have to let people go? Like, what did that look like? And we as leaders were scared to death too, and we didn't have good answers, but we at least started having a conversation around, here's what we know, here's what we don't know, here's what we're working to change that and get more information. And what was really interesting is over the course of the last year, the tone of those calls, we did them every week, and the tone changed. We thankfully didn't have to furlough or let anyone go, and in fact, we are growing rapidly, and have been over the past several months. But it gave us a chance to talk about, what did we try out? What did we fail at? What are we learning at? And on a weekly basis, we're talking about those things. And it's actually brought our teams closer as a result of it. So if you aren't doing this, I absolutely recommend that you start doing this. This is a fantastic habit to start. Look for the great stuff that's happening. Appreciate your team more than you even are, even if you're doing it a lot. Look for things that folks are doing right. And what I like to say is, a lot of times we moved into accidental innovation and we tried things we had never done before. What you want to do is shift that conversation into intentional innovation and make time for it and create an environment where you really put an emphasis on it. We know how to do it. We've done it. So let's make sure that it's part of our practice. And so that leads me into the second habit of be intentional about your innovation. And I like this quote too, that innovation, just really simply, may not necessarily be this, but I think this is a good way of framing it. It's just taking two things that already exist in the world and putting them together in a brand new way. It's just looking at the world in a new way. And so some things that can help your teams be intentional is to teach them what I like to call problem hunting skills, problem hunting and problem smashing skills. There are tons of problems around us within our own organization. Look at those as opportunities to get better as an organization. There are also tons of opportunities outside of our organization if we just listen to our customers. And that's a partial segue into my habit 3. But really help your teams learn skills to hunt for problems and to get rid of problems. Also find the opportunity in the challenge. Every challenge has an upside, has an opportunity to it. So it just really takes a skill to and practice. I mean, any skill like this, innovation, I think, is a skill. It just takes practice. And the more that you practice at it, the better that you get. So every challenge, if you look at it in a different lens, is an opportunity. And it can be an amazing opportunity. We just don't realize. We are so focused a lot of times on the challenge, and that stresses us out. We don't look at the opportunity in that challenge. And then the third thing I would say is seek out new ideas. I find that myself, as well as our teams, are much more innovative when we seek out new ideas in different industries, in different disciplines. I'll give you my own example. I started taking a virtual improv class this year because I find that it brings me joy, and just it allows me to think more clearly, be more creative, and just be more fun to be around and bring levity to work. And so I started taking this improv class. I didn't realize it was called Improv for the Camera. I didn't realize that we had to do a bunch of video editing, which I know zero about. Well, now I know like one or two little tiny things about video editing, but I learned to do video editing, which is so strange and outside of what I would normally pick. But it has given me so many really cool ideas that I'm sorry, Lindsay, will be bringing to the workplace. Get rid of Lindsay. She's like, oh no, Erica's gone to another class, crap, or she's read another book. But that's how you get ideas. I am constantly reading books, looking at blog articles, reading webinars. Like I love pulling in content, especially in stuff that I have no idea about, because it gives you this new idea that sometimes the same problem has been solved in a different industry, and they might use the different words, they might have a different slant on it, but it's something that you can pull in and use. And like the quote from Tom, the founder of MTV, it's just taking two ideas and putting them together in a brand new way that people haven't thought about. So we're going to do a quick activity. We'll take maybe only about 5 minutes to do it. But Lindsay, if you would, actually, I could probably do this myself. I can copy the board link and put it into the chat window, hopefully. Lindsay, I might need your help. I've lost my chat window.
I gotcha. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Oh, I got it. Oh wait,
okay.
No, I just sent it to you, Lindsay.
I wanted it.
Lindsay and Erika comedy duo today. That's what you get.
There are worse things.
There are worse things. So
okay, that link should be up now.
Yeah, if time permits, I do want to spend some time talking about things to celebrate, but right now I want us to go to this part of a Miro board. If anyone has not used a Miro board before, they're very cool. We use them in a lot of our meetings internally with our customers because they just help you solve problems kind of like you would in person, and they're phenomenal. They take a little bit to get used to, but if you click on that link, you should actually see 3 boards that come up. You'll see one that says things to celebrate, big hairy problems, and one thing. You should be able to scroll or expand in, expand out. If you don't know where I am, you can go to the bottom left. There's a frame. If you hover over it, it says frames, and it looks like a picture frame with 2 lines. If you click on that, it'll show you the 3 boards essentially that I've created. And you want to go to the one that's all red because we're going to talk about big, hairy problems. So try to, if you can, navigate there. I've already got a bunch of Post-it notes there. You should be able to double click on a Post-it note, and I'm just going to put the word test here, but you should be able to write something in that Post-it note. If you're having any problems doing that, you'll see on the top left-hand side, there's a vertical list of icons. There will be a little arrow. If you click on the arrow, that'll turn into a hand. If you click on it again, it'll turn into an arrow. So if you have problems creating or typing into a Post-it note, just go to that little arrow on the top left. If you're feeling super advanced and you're like, I know Miro, I'm super good at it, you can actually click on this icon that has a sticky note. It looks like the little corner is turned up. You can click on that and you can put whatever color Post-it note you want. You can put it onto the board. You can also click on a Post-it note. You can change the color of that Post-it note. So you've got lots and lots of ideas. It might take us a few minutes to get used to it, but I love that folks are already in here. So if you would, I want you to come up with 1, 2, 3, however many problems you're feeling inspired to put down here on paper. And don't worry if you add other crazy stuff like circles and what have you. It's part of the process. So go ahead, grab a Post-it note, double click in it. I want you to write down a big hairy problem, just one problem if you can. 1 problem per Post-it. And if you want to put into the chat window too, I'd be super interested to hear from folks if you've ever used a Miro board before, if you like using them, how you like this experience. We use them in all of our classes, and they're just so much fun. At the beginning, students are like, yeah, I don't know about this, and I'm having problems. And by the end of it, they're like, oh my God, more Miro board activities. Let's keep doing it. All right, so you've got about 30 more seconds to put in your big hairy problems. They could be things that you faced last year. They could be things that you're still struggling with now, but what are those big hairy problems? They can be work related. They can be life related. I mean, work is life and home is the office and all that jazz. So kind of one impacts the other. Oh, missing hugs. Yeah, isn't that funny? Things you didn't think that you'd miss. like being around people. Yeah, who would have thunk? Social disconnection, shifting product offerings. Oh my gosh, yeah. Too many meetings, having to do work outside of working. Yes. If you're feeling like there are 1 million meetings and when your eyes are open, you're working, you are not alone. We all are. Underutilizing IT tools, absolutely. Too many meetings with no purpose, changing customer priorities, no time to launch new initiatives, too much to do, too many projects, lack of physical interaction, chronic complainer. Are you thinking of somebody in particular, maybe? You have to work with a chronic complainer, having a work-life balance, absolutely. Changing priorities. Let me move this post-it note real quick and see if there's anything under it. There is not, so I'll just get rid of the one underneath it. Yeah, not knowing how to prioritize competing projects, too many requests and too little time to deliver. Lindsay, could I get your help grouping some of these a little bit since you are the master aggregator? Master grouper. Yeah, you're awesome. Like the fish, you're the master grouper.
I am the biggest grouper. I'd like that added to my business card, please.
You got it, master grouper. You do act fishy sometimes, so this is really perfect.
You're not wrong.
So while Lindsay is moving our post-its around, we are going to take a shot at dot voting on these. So if we were doing like an in-person session, we would actually like get out our pens and we would put dots on things. And what I found is it's really nice to dot vote because unlike a normal meeting where you're all just on Zoom and everybody's talking and brainstorming, when you work on something like this and you actually create post-it note ideas, you get a lot more ideas than you would in just discussion. The really nice thing about dot voting, which you'll see next, is that you separate the idea from the person. So you don't have, I like to call them hogs or logs. My sister-in-law teaches children, they call them hogs or logs sometimes. You have some folks that just fill the room with their words, and then you have other folks that are introverted like myself that sometimes just like to listen to the conversation and may not speak up as much. And sometimes their ideas don't get heard. And so by dot voting on these, and we'll see how it goes, you separate the idea from the person and the best ideas rise to the top, which helps the organization, helps with innovation, helps with creativity, and just is so much more fun. So, you know, these meetings that like have no agenda and go on forever and that kind of thing, if you can use activities like this, they're just much more interactive and fun for everybody. Lindsay, you are so good at this. All right, so we're going to try our hand. You're very welcome. We're going to try our hand at dot voting. And I'm going to give
move the board. Can I do one thing real quick?
Okay.
Take your time, consider it. So something that makes it a little easier with these clusters is if we make one of them a different color.
Okay, fine, I'll allow it.
Thank you. Well, now, of course, I've forgotten how to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay. So as you're voting on a cluster, vote on the white post-it. That'll help our tally. If that doesn't make sense, feel free to put a question in the chat box.
So anything that's grouped together, just to clarify, anything that's grouped together, vote on the white post-it. Anything that's dangling by itself, that is its own thing, you can vote on that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna vote on which problem we want to solve now and turn that problem into lots and lots of opportunities. So everyone's gonna get 3 votes a person, and you'll get 2 minutes. No. How many minutes? It only allows me to pick 1 or 5. Maybe I can do 2. Ah, haha. I figured it out. Okay, so you'll get 2 minutes. Everyone will get 3 votes. I'm going to click start now, and you can vote on which problem is your favorite, which problem you want to solve, come up with some ideas, think about opportunities, maybe innovate a little bit on. And you should be able to, yeah, vote on 2 things. I'm going to vote as well. I'm excited. Okay. Miro is processing the results. This is Miro, by the way, this product. There are several different products out there that you can use of all varying shapes, sizes, costs. Again, if you aren't using tools like this, I highly encourage it. It just gets such great conversation flowing. I think I said this already. We use tools like this for all of our training classes because nobody wants to listen to death by power, wants to die by PowerPoint. And so we take all of our concepts and break them up into Miro boards like this, and it's just a much more fun experience. As well as with our consulting projects, we do all of our work. We're still working remotely, and so we work through all of our problems with customers by using tools like this. So the top two things: having to do work outside of work and changed priorities. Lindsay, I will let you be the tiebreaker. Oh, you know what? We don't need a tiebreaker because somebody didn't click on the white one. They voted on another on another.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Post-it it. I know. It's a tragedy. So the one that actually won the most votes, if we look at the whole clump of Post-its, is having to do too much, too many projects, too much stuff, not enough time, no work-life balance, just being overwhelmed. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take this cluster. Lindsay, I might need your help with that. Take this cluster. Let's create a new frame, and then we're just going to we're going to talk about this particular cluster of Post-its, but we're going to reframe it in a different way. All right, so what the rest of us are going to do is we're going to take the next few minutes, and I want you to think about these problems, but think about them in two different ways. I want you to ask yourself the question, well, what opportunity does this give us? Every challenge has opportunities. Even if you think about, like, I was really bummed when I didn't get a chance to go fly anywhere and go see our customers, didn't get to see them face to face. But the opportunity in that is we now can serve customers all over the world very quickly, and I don't have to get on a plane to go see them. So I want you to think about, what is the opportunity that this brings? And if you have ideas around that, create new Post-its. So again, on the left, if you click this little sticky note, you just click on it, and voila, it creates a new sticky note that you can write in. So around the edges of these red, orange, and white sticky notes, I want you to think of at least one opportunity that this provides. And I also want you to think about one solution. So what's one way that we could solve having too many projects, or having too much to do, or doing work outside of work, or not having this work-life balance, having so much to do in so little time? So either what's the opportunity or what's a solution? So take about 3 minutes to do that, and then let's talk about them, around them, whatever. Oh, there's so many things. Look at this. All right, I'll give you about maybe 30 more seconds. All right, let's read through them. Lindsay, if you would, read through some of them for me.
Okay, let me do some zooming here. So we've got, looks like someone was in flight here. I'll delete this one. You have an opportunity to become more strategic and targeted, identifying what's really important and prioritizing it. Be true to yourself. The work is there tomorrow. I like that one a lot. Prioritize most important needs. Vacation, routine, talk it out. Consider what might be better delegated. Practice saying no. Oof, that hurts. Be comfortable with saying no. Prioritization. Take a break. Self-care. Boundary setting. That's a great one. Use a daily out of office message to maintain evening time off. Use MS Insights. Reprioritizing based on value. Improving planning. Communicate when work is done. Share plans / reuse. I think that's all of them.
I love it. Give yourself a virtual round of applause.
Well done.
Pat on the back. This is awesome. I mean, look how many ideas we have from something that is painful, annoying, a big, hairy problem, these are great things we can start doing. I love the practice saying no. That is a skill. And it's something that if we get really good at it, in fact, I haven't read the book yet. I bought it, which I think is almost as good as having read it, is positive no, that there's a way to say no, but do so in a positive way. It's the same author of the book, Getting to Yes. But he apparently is friends with Warren Buffett, because, who isn't? And after he wrote Getting to Yes, Warren Buffett was like, you need to learn to say no. He's like, I say no to things all the time. If I say yes to one really good idea in a year, I'm having a great year, but I have to say no to many, many, many things. And so that's fantastic. And I love this too because it gets a lot of ideas out there and it gives us a lot of paths forward. We don't just have to sit there with too many projects. I mean, we oftentimes know if we have too many projects, okay, we've got some levers to pull. We can hire more people, which may or may not be an option, or we can say no to more stuff. We can prioritize our stuff. So the most important stuff is at the top. But yeah, it just gets us talking about ideas. And I see that some folks have also found the emojis, which if you go to that toolbar on the left that's vertical and you click those three little dots, you can pull up a whole host of emojis, which are super fun to do as well. And it just makes meetings way better than just let's, bloviate at one another for a very long time with no agenda. So cool. Let's change gears a little bit and go back to the slides. I've got just a couple more habits I want to talk through, but I also want to leave it open for questions, any questions that folks have. So habit 3 is really important, is redefining our why, personally, as a team, as an organization, because especially now when we aren't able to connect with other humans and give hugs and high fives and all that good stuff, we all want to do meaningful work, and we want to be part of something bigger. And so one thing, and I mentioned this earlier, that was really helpful for us as a leadership team, is we sat down and said, what gets us up in the morning? Why are we here? Why do we keep doing this? Why do we get up and go to our 10 feet away in our home office and do the work that we do? And for us, it was really helpful to talk about those stories and to talk about our why and to write it down, to talk to our teams about it. I encourage you, if you have not watched Simon Sinek's video, it's about 18 minutes long. It's his TED Talk called The Golden Circle. He also has a book entitled Start With Why, that really gets at the importance of redefining, communicating, and sharing your vision. Sorry, not your vision, your mission, your why. So I encourage you to do that. That's a really quick habit to be thinking about. And then habit 4 is to shift your focus towards one that is outward. When we are in survival mode, when we are stressed out, we tend to focus inward and focus on, oh my God, what's going to happen to me, my job, my life, that kind of thing. And we more easily innovate when we shift our outward focus. Shift our focus outward. Switch that. Oh, and somebody gave me a thumbs up. I love it. Okay, so we got folks that are figuring out Mentimeter. I'm not really sure what the cat is for, but I love it. I think it's like meow, like encouragement from a cat.
Legally, you can't reject a cat. I think we just accept cats and we move forward.
Interesting. Okay, I like it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I got a heart. You guys, this is so amazing. I'm definitely going to cry later or now. Thank you for the cat. So I love this quote from Steve Jobs. Start with your customer experience and work backwards towards the technology, not the other way around. If we are focused inward, that is not going to help us. We need to focus outward. So some ideas, pick up the phone, call your customers. They have so many insights, ideas that will help you innovate as an organization, will help you come up with future products and services. They are the key to all of this. In fact, Jeff Bezos from Amazon had a really good quote that, of course, I'm going to butcher it as I say it, but I can kind of tell you the gist of it, that he said that organizations and people are much more resilient when they're focused on their customer. That's why they're such a customer-focused organization, you become a world beater that way. So pick up the phone, call your customers. Another really great skill is to teach our teams to really, really listen. That is something that we are constantly working on internally with our own teams, is how to ask really great questions. And then just to listen, just to shut your mouth and really listen. Listen down to the very last word that a customer says. We as humans, we tend to talk. And then when somebody else is talking, we listen to maybe like 75% of what they're saying. And the last 25% of the time, we're trying to figure out, what do I say in my, to respond. But what is really interesting, and I've worked with our own internal teams as well as our customers to enhance listening. And if you teach people to listen to the very last word, your response will still come. You don't end up going, oh shoot, I was listening to you too hard, but now I don't have anything to say. The response will come, but what people really want is to be listened to, and you will be much more effective, much more of an innovator if you really develop listening skills. All right, so I'll leave you with a couple of quotes leading into 2021. I was supposed to have animation. There would be big reveals in all of my slides, but it didn't go that way today, and that's fine. My first quote that I love is that innovation is the unrelenting drive to break the status quo and develop a new where few have dared to go. So I encourage you, break the status quo. That was a word that came up in survival mode. Status quo is our enemy. If we want to innovate, we have to go beyond it. And then I like what Thomas Edison said. Some of you may have heard of him, inventor, pretty famous inventor. He said that the value in an idea is not just the idea, it lies in the using of it. So I encourage you, don't just take these ideas, but write down, here's the things that I want to experiment with. Here's the stuff that I want to try that I've never done before. Maybe here's the book I want to read, the class I want to take. In fact, I have a couple of books with me today that I think are amazing around innovation. This one here, and we can send this in our show notes, in our follow-up email. Curtis Carlson and William Wilmot, they wrote a book called Innovation, the 5 Disciplines for Creating What Customers Want. This book is excellent. And then Jim McKelvey, he was the co-founder of Square, the little thing that you put on your cell phone, called the Innovation Stack, and just kind of how they innovated, how they outmaneuvered Amazon when Amazon decided, oh, we can create something just like Square and be the Goliath and push them out of the market, how they actually survived that, and how Amazon actually gave up and moved out, decided to kind of change their focus and go after some other little guy. But really good books, both of those. And then I'll just leave you with this. I encourage you to check out our blog at beyond20.com. There are tons and tons and tons of free resources in our blog with templates you can download, infographics, all sorts of stuff. I actually wrote an article called From Survival to Innovation Mode, How to Pandemic Proof Your Organization for the Future. It talks about a lot of these things. It goes into more details and has links to lots of other great resources. I encourage you, if you're thinking about taking a class, our 3-day digital and IT strategy class is amazing and has case studies that you work through, and you get to do all this kind of stuff. So encourage you to check that out as well. Follow us on social media, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. But we've got a full 5 minutes, so if anybody would like to ask any and all questions, we would love to take anything that you've got. Or if you just want a cat emoji at me, you can do that too. I will accept I will accept that over the last 5 minutes.
You gotta accept a cat.
Thank you so much. Do I respond as a cat when I see the cat? I don't know.
I think, yeah, no, that's in the contract as well.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, I got a question for you. How can you tell if you're stuck in survival mode?
Ooh, if you're stuck in survival mode, how that feels is you're focused inward, you're focused on yourself. You've usually hit a roadblock and you're having a hard time thinking creatively, trying new things. That's usually how it feels. If you're tired, I can tell you for my own self, when I find that I'm stuck in survival mode, I get sad. I don't have new ideas. And so what I will usually do to kind of knock myself out of it is I'll pick up a book, I'll take a class that's scary and awkward, but I really love the process of learning something new. It kind of knocks you out of it. Take a training class. You know, we teach a ton of training classes, and I have seen light bulbs go off in people's heads when they learn that new thing that they can now take back to the organization. So I would encourage you, if you're feeling really stressed, if you're having a hard time with ideas, motivation, things like that, do something new, try something new that you've never done before. It will usually awaken ideas and help you get out of it.
Cool. Love that. In 3 minutes, can you tell us what an innovation process looks like?
Yeah, so I'm thinking back to the digital and IT strategy book. There were 4 main phases that we saw innovation processes go through. So there's usually an ideation phase where you want to collect as many ideas as you possibly can from your own team, from other teams in the organization. A lot of what I've seen in organizations that do this really well, they will do things like hackathons where you have 24 hours to come up with great ideas and pitch those great ideas. This innovation book that I mentioned, the 5 disciplines, talks a lot about how you set up a process to help with innovation and what you do with those ideas, because it's not just enough to come up with the ideas. Then you have to figure out, okay, step 2 is how do we take the right ideas to market? So there's this ideation phase that you want to just get as many ideas as you can. And then there's another phase, which I forget what most organizations call it, but basically what it is, this innovation book calls it watering holes. But you want to take those ideas and then really, so watering holes help you flesh out the details of it, but you're answering questions like, is this something we could sell to our customers? Is this something we can make money on? Do we think that there's a big enough market for this kind of thing? If we're on the private sector, public sector, you're asking very different questions around, like, does this help us meet the mission of the organization? Is this a compelling thing that our customers care about? But you're asking questions like that because not every idea is going to be a good idea, and not every idea needs to go to the marketplace. Hello, Microsoft Zune, right? Nobody wanted to buy that product. So, so there's a lot of discipline that needs to go around. What do you do with those ideas? And then there's another phase, which of course I'm forgetting the name of the phase right now. I'm happy to send some details around that. But it's the phase where you actually start to develop it, you test it out, you build prototypes, you know, you beat on it a little bit more, make sure that it is something that actually could survive in the marketplace. I think it's called the design or the development phase. And then there's another phase, like marketplace phase. It's probably not right, doesn't feel right, but it's close, where you actually start thinking about, okay, how could we market this? How could we sell this? Let's teach our folks internally what the story is around this, and further define the problem that it solves. But at the end of the day, to be innovative, we have to solve problems, and to understand what those problems are, we have to talk to those around us and talk to our customers. The other thing, the digital and IT strategy book talks a lot about different ways that you can innovate. There's some really interesting things around crowdsourced innovation, managed chaos that Google does a lot to give their people time and space to innovate. Yeah, so there's some really good examples out there on how to do that. But yes, you do want to define your process for how you innovate, and there is a discipline to it. It's not just saying, hey, everybody, I'll give you a bonus or an incentive to innovate, but it's really giving people the time, creating an environment that allows for innovation, and then having a disciplined process for taking those ideas and turning them into reality. And I think that's the 2 o'clock bell. So if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We love any and all questions, ideas, thoughts that you have. please send them our way if you have ideas that we love. We oftentimes will write a whole blog article around it. So yeah, the more the better. But thank you so much. This was fun for us. Hopefully it was fun for you, and you tried some new things and you've got some new ideas, and we wish you all the best.